Hi, and welcome to another wonderful edition of the Pyramid Show, your #1 tele-construction guide show. And today we have an interesting topic, a topic that most people really seek answers to, and that is their home ownership, that is to buy or to build, which is the preferred choice. Today we are going to look at the benefits of building and the drawbacks of if you choose to do otherwise. And it's the same story of buying and when you choose to also do otherwise. We have wonderful guests in the studio. They are the brightest minds, I would say, on this subject. We return after this break, then we begin our discussion. Welcome back. My name is Emmanuel Owusu-Ansah. And like I said earlier on today, we are looking at the subject to build or to buy a house, which is the preferred option. We are going to look at the benefits and the drawbacks with these two options. And joining me in the studio for this wonderful discussion, I have with me Kwadwo Bani. He is an immediate past executive council member for Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. The man has so much passion for the use of local materials, and he stands for fast built technology. He has over 2 decades of working experience as a building contractor and also in the real estate industry. My second guest is Mr. Benny Elisha Kobina. He is the CEO for Blueprint Ideas, a construction firm, and I've known him for years. He's also been in the built industry for over 3 decades. Gentlemen, thanks for your time, and it's great having you in the studio. My first question goes to you, Kwadwo. Kwadwo, my first question is, in our part of the world, the story is this, and is that most people would want to build their homes from the ground and not buy. And why is that a story? Because you go to the US, the Europe, and it's a different story. They prefer to buy.
Okay, I think this goes back a long way. And it is the way our grandmothers used to build. You get a mason, and the mason will build your home for you. That moved on to the era where now we do incremental building, where you get a mason, he digs the foundation, and they come up and bring up the structure. You find your windows and so on. So it's something that's come from history. It's been followed through. And then we got to a stage, an era where architects were seen as the de facto people to do the building work. So people want to build, and they believe that once you have an architect, then everything is finished. But the architect does a bit more, and a lot more than that. The architect will engage other people like the engineers, civil and structural and so on, to make it a whole and then bring it together. So it's a building environment, and the building professionals come together to get this done. In Europe, yes, traditionally they go for the professionals to actually do the building work for them, and they will build and sell to you. In Ghana and in some parts of Africa, actually, the thinking is that no, we don't have that much money, and so maybe the best idea is for us to go in and build ourselves. That way we know that this is what the mason has cost me and so on. But they always leave out maybe the engineer, because they don't even realize that the engineer has a part to play in what they're doing. What they believe in is that the architect is the one. So there are lots of issues into how that has come about. But one key one is finance. Of the build. So as an opener, that's what I'll say to start you off.
Benin, as an add-on, Kojo is telling us that this goes way back. That has to do more with the culture. That is our forefathers engaging artisans most of the times and not seeing the need for an organized system where we get to organize a society and rather buy. What has been your story? Because like I said earlier, you go to the Americas, the Europes, and they are so much into buying ready-built homes. But here, the concept, the idea is, okay, I have this amount of money, let me go on to my project, I exhaust it, I come back, organize myself. That has been the story. Why is the narrative like that?
Okay, so good afternoon to our dear listeners. So Kojo finished his submission by saying finance.
Yeah.
And I would like to just build on that. Now, over the history of our construction time, our forefathers didn't have money that sat down so they could build. So as and when they were, gathering the money, sometimes they don't even have to build with money. If I remember very well, I can tell you that even as far back as 70 years ago, 90 years ago, our forefathers were building with clay and cow dung. So
no, wait, clay and what?
Cow dung.
Cow dung.
Cow dung.
Okay.
In replacement for cement. Because cow dung itself has some sort of factors that represent cement.
Really?
So our forefathers really knew a lot. So they didn't have the money, but they would gather the clay, put cow dung, step inside, and then they would do the skeleton and then just mud it up, and they were okay. Money was not there. And like he said, over the time of evolving, they have now come to the realization that, okay, modernity requires that there is something called modern homes. So now we look at building our houses the same way. It hasn't changed. The mindset to buy a house in Ghana or some parts of Africa is not there. They don't want to look at it from that perspective where it's more easier. They think or they feel it's more easier, and I can agree with them. And by the time I'm done, you understand why I'm saying that. When they build their houses, they have the feeling that they are in control of the finance. Today they bought 2 bags of cement. Tomorrow they bought 5 bags of cement. So they think they are in control. Now when they go buying a house they don't even know what was there.
Like people like Kojobani, when they are buying the developed houses from Kojobani.
From Kojobani, or even from Blueprint.
Okay.
The mindset is that I was in control of the finance, I know what went into it, and they can tell you that, oh, I spent thousands of cedis. Now, when they're going to buy a house, the mindset of accepting that it's an already done thing for them, most Ghanaians are not, what's the word? They are not really free with that. They'll prefer to go look for their own land and take their time to build. But whichever way, like I said, over history, that has been the trend. So it's going to take a few more time. Maybe when eventually it all sets in, they will now want to go buying a house like the way they buy a phone.
You ended it with just the best scenario we can ever think of. But in your submission, you said, the acquisition of land. And we all agree that the struggle, the pain, the frustration that comes with, acquiring land in a part of the world, that is Ghana to be specific, is a battle. Why would one want to go through that whilst the person can, look at the real estate developer, is already built, you jump all these pain and stress? Why do individuals who want to build on their own want to experience this? Or you think that is not the story? So I'm looking at acquisition of the land.
Acquisition of the land. Okay, now, acquisition of the land is one of the things that most Ghanaians find a joy in. To say, I have bought a plot of land. And being the owner of the land. So if I understand the mindset, of course, after some 4 years of research, I can tell you that most Ghanaians love to say, I have a land, than to say, I have a house.
Really?
Yes. Just because I know somebody who has owned his own land for the past 15 years, and he's okay with that. He's okay with that.
Yeah.
Because when he looks at the cost of building, he's even started doing the foundation, and after 5 years, he's still not done with it. But he's okay. The acquisition of land is more interesting. So now most real estates are more like we sell land. You know, one plot of land is costing 1,000 cedis, $1,000 and all that. So the joy of buying that land is first and paramount. And then they can boast and say, I bought the land at Trazaco. I bought the land. But they never say, I have started building the land. But acquisition, like I said, let me be more technical. When you go buying your own land, you are in control. Okay? If you finally get to have your certificate in the land, you are in control. When you buy a house from a real estate company, okay, the land that you are buying, the house that you bought is on the land that has already been leased to the real estate. Even if they own it, what you don't know is that you're not 100% in control of the land. You're not. Some of the real estate companies don't even tell you that this land has only 40 years of lease left. You'll be there one day and then they'll tell you that this parcel of land, like I think it happened recently.
I wouldn't want you to call any name.
I'm not calling names, but it happened recently where a traditional council said, everybody in this particular location need to come
Re-register.
and re-register. Because the house or the land you have bought from the real estate was a lease. Now, if you bought directly from the, what they call them?
They are their owners. That is.
Exactly. You are in control. If there's anything, they're dealing with you one-on-one. It's not going through third party. The real estate companies, most of them, won't tell you that. Okay? Like, a few I know, they will tell you because there's a manual on the building you bought that tells you everything. That you have this number of years, this house was built with this number of strength specification, this house has this number of defects, expectations, and so on and so forth. So with the land acquisition, what I would say is that it's another problem where most Ghanaians think and feel that by the time they are done staying in that house they bought, there's so many other things coming in. So they think it's good to buy a land, and who knows, maybe in the nearest future, Blueprint Ideas and Kojo can come together and say, okay, now you can have, like I said, you can actually buy a house and put on the land.
Okay, so let me come to Kojo. Kojo, interesting statement made by Benny over there. He talking about you being in control of the land. That is at least the number of leased years that it comes to you. I've heard stories where real estate developers, you know, they acquire the land and they are not even done with the payment yet, because per the arrangement they have with the Alodia owners, that is to say the indigenes, the local people, is that probably they advance, they move on to the land, do some few works on the land and gain something and come back to settle all. But quite a number of instances, it doesn't happen that way. So yet they are still owing the people who released the land to them. And you as the third party, you go in there, you don't know any of these stories, right, and they come back hustling you. Probably at this point you have your building middle way or almost close to finishing. You're a real estate developer, what do you have to say?
Okay, in terms of purchasing land, per se, there are different developers go through different stages. Some people go into joint ventures with the landowners. Others go directly to the allodial owners or families and buy from them. Now, there's several things that can happen. But we can go around giving excuses and procedures and so on. But there's one key thing. I would always say, use the professional. If you are buying a piece of land and you do not go through the process of having, for instance, a legal person looking over the paperwork, doing the searches, and then helping you register the land, you are likely to face difficulties. You are likely to face, because buying a piece of land is not like going to the market and buying tomatoes. You know, there is a structured way of doing it. A lot of people get burnt because they don't go through the proper structures. And those are some of the things that we need to do. But in answering that question, I don't want to move on or set the agenda, but I think if we look at this, we're looking at to build or to buy.
To buy.
To build or to buy. Now, that problem of land is faced by the builder as well. You have a lot of people who go and buy land and they are stunned. Okay, so it's not set for just the real estate developer. Real estate developers, I've known estate developers within Greater who have bought land 2 or 3 times because they bought the land from the family and 2 or 3 representatives of the family were left out. And then they come back later and say, no, I wasn't part of that sale. I have a share in that land. And then you need to go and buy again. So it's fraught with a lot of difficulties.
So on that, would you say it's rather, you know, the preferred way to go dealing with real estate people? Because I would say individuals buying land in Ghana, the risk is very high than, you know, real estate developers getting the land and you getting it from them, because they have all these professional men, like you were saying, and most of the times they move onto the situation, make sure that all the paperwork is done, the proper procedures for, you know, the transfer is observed. So probably you might not be getting a longer lease on the land, but it's quite a safe haven to, you know, put your money.
The developer has gone through that, and before they move onto the land, they would have had to clear certain hurdles, which puts you, the buyer, in a better position. So they are taking the hit on your behalf. It is their business, they're going to be on the land for maybe 2 to 5 years. And so it is important for them to get it right. And it is a business, it's their livelihood, and so they make sure that it's done rightly. And they use the professionals in most cases. And that is what the difference is between just you buying on the open market and buying through the developer. But I think if we are going to structure this well, we said we're looking at build or buy.
Build or buy.
You know, to build, there are different issues that come under building, and there are different issues that come from buying.
Buying.
If we say we're just going to look at building, you know, we can be here for 2 hours or more.
Yes.
If we go the other way, so I think what we need to do is to pick the salient points and then try and drill down into them. For example, if we're talking of building a home, you can build, I can build, everyone can build. So we can break it down into artisans building, okay? We can have the professionals, being an architect or an engineer, or you know, a building, and then you have the developer building. So I will break that down into 3 stages. And I'll say if we look at the developer and the professionals and the artisan,
yeah,
and the individual building, you know, you can, you know, argue
yes,
in all those
Kojo, so I do agree with this. I believe we are going to, you know, probably do a continuation of this subject because it's a very wide discussion, and obviously we cannot touch on all the major points today, but we will still want to, you know, handle the few that we can handle today. Good. So probably we are going to lift, you know, the challenges one by one. If we are not able to exhaust all that we have to talk about, good, we can do a possible continuation next week. Good. Yes. Now, on the same land story, my question to you, Kojo, you being former member of Greater and an executive council member, I'm so much sure you have an idea what a standard size of a land is per the building codes or our standards. What is the standard size of a land for any individual going out there to secure land?
You're asking me to put a pin on a moving target.
Okay.
Because we all know an acre is, a standard measure. We started off with 4 plots of land, which was 100 by 100, that go into an acre. And that was the standard plot size, and then that moved on to 90 by 100. That became smaller and smaller, and now I think we are more like 70 by 100, or you can buy a half plot of that. Now, that progression has happened for certain reasons. One of them, one key one, is that if a developer buys a piece of land or goes to buy a piece of land, part of that land would have to be used for roads and services. Okay, and so if you buy an acre of land to do a development, there has to be an allowance for roads to pass through. Okay, and so you find out that he would say to the one seller, it's an acre, but I can only use 70% of it. Hence the breakdown and the land becoming smaller and smaller and so on.
Fantastic.
So that is the background of that. So in terms of the best way to go and buy or what the plot size should be, there is no set plot size.
So what do you say with the 70 by 100?
It will take a decent house. You will have nice neighbors. You have your own space. 100 by 100 is even better. I'll prefer the bigger one.
But what most people are buying nowadays, 70 by 100? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
You're aware of that?
Yes.
But in the case of the real estate developers, I was just trying to understand why the lands are smaller. But I think with that brilliant submission, I understand because of the need to make way for roads and others. That's
Exactly,
why.
yes.
Okay. So we'll be taking a break here. We return with all the social media comments that you've left on our platform. We take a break here. Welcome back. It's now time for the interactive segment with Audrey Kafui-Dushe.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So on our interactive segment, the question for the day is home ownership, to build or to buy. So we dive right into the social media comments and find out what people are saying about it. With our first comment from Karia Jibril, she says the ideal scenario would be to build, but the stress associated with building makes building a better option for me. So that would be our first comment for the day, our second comment, and then the guest says, our second comment is, I would like to build one if I could pay overtime and affordable. The previous comment is coming from Echokle, and she says, I would prefer to build. Moving on, Colinius Jibril, and he says, will rather build from ground up. So he is saying he prefers to rather build it from the ground. Moving on. Mental health matters. And mental health matters is saying building it is cheaper. Building it is cheaper. Hamid Jibril says, I would prefer to build than to buy. Where is 25? It is always a good feeling to own a house or home, but there are many individuals involved or to be considered in owning a house or a home, be it building one or buying it. This has to do with planning, cost, location, size, purpose, time and family, etc. But I would prefer to buy a house. So he sends in factors to consider when purchasing one. Mr. Daddy, he says building your own is ideal, despite the frustration with land acquisition and all. Building with the right set of skill, building with the right skill set of workmen will guarantee a quality building. Sydney Justin Tehoda, He says the difficulty with building is that these new sites do not have living amenities. It takes a long time to get, sorry.
On the Twitter page. Which of them would you want to pick? Then I'll move on to Benny Elisha Kobna on some of the comments that our audience posted.
Okay, I'll take the one where, I didn't get his name, said it's cheaper to build yourself. I would not agree with him at all. When individuals start building their home, there are certain things they don't charge for. The time that they use to supervise the building, okay, the time they use to go and inspect the goods before they are purchased, okay, the time that they go to pick up the cement and so on, they take out of the equation. They need to put that back into the equation and bill for that, because it is not free. You would have been doing something else which would have been getting you an income. Okay, so when a developer takes time out to do all that, I don't think it's right when you say that it's cheaper if you build, because at the end of the day, the materials you're going to use are going to be likely the same. The developer would also, the developer or even the artisan or the professional building would also need to make sure that the site is secure. And so when you put someone to sleep on the site for you, you don't charge for that person the security. You know, so these are subtle things, and so people don't actually take in the actual costs of what they are spending. But when you account for everything correctly, you will then get the true value of what you have put into the building.
Benny, quite a number of comment thoughts.
I mean, I counted about 7 of them, and only one said to buy.
Only one of them said to buy.
So it confirms what I told you about history.
Yes, exactly.
But then I would want to just clarify something also. Now, buying is good, building is better. Okay? Buying is good, building is better. But if you're going to build, do the right thing, engage the professionals. If you engage an engineer or a construction firm to build for you, you are now a client. So the process of building, you are more like, in project management, you are a stakeholder, right? So now they have to come to you for as and when changes coming in, and then of course if they say they're going to build for you in the blueprint that is building is just 1 month. If they say 1 month, if they say 2 months, at least you know that time that Kojo is saying is not directly you coming in to spend that time. You are engaging a professional to spend that time. Quality of work, time spent, and all these things, you are entitled to monitoring it, because they have to report to you, telling you where they have reached and all that. If you're buying a house, I have been to, and of course I'm not mentioning names, but I have been to places where a house that is already ready to be bought has cracks.
That is being developed by a real estate developer.
Already, and it's already on the market to be bought.
But Elisha, that wouldn't be fair, because I've also seen properties developed by individuals. Sometimes they engage. How do you even want us to paint the picture that they don't even get professionals involved? I've had this experience of some colleagues of mine calling on me, Emmanuel, I want you to pay attention to this project I'm doing. And you go, you visit, but yes, still the job is bad because there isn't any proper, engineering supervision system. So it's not that for just the real estate developers. I
understand, but you see, like I did say that engage a professional, a professionally trained engineer, okay, certified, knows what he's doing. And he knows his certificate is on the line. He is not going in to allow you to. There are some clients who come in and say, you're spending too much cement. Can't we do something about it? A trained, certified professional, knowing what to do, like myself, is not going to allow you to push him over. But not regardless of what I've said, what I'm saying is that whether you are spending the time that is going to be spent, if you're buying, that is what my focus is. The client doesn't spend that time directly on the project because he's engaging a professional to spend that time. And that professional is trained to spend the time. Like, for example, there's a project I'm doing in Spintex, right? And the client only comes in to inspect where have you reached. Okay? The client doesn't spend all the time. My voice is even gone because of the time I spent on the site. The client comes in and he can see progress of work and appreciate the quality professional work being done. So all I'm saying is that, yes, what they have said is all good, but the time that is spent on the project, if you are building, and if you engage a professional, it's not direct, but it's indirect.
Okay, so I mean, we've spoken a lot on the subject, subject that is land, acquisition of land. Let's now pay attention to the location of the land and also the general arrangement of the land. Because I believe that when you buy a parcel of land, you've just come into contact with a whole lot of people, because the one on your left, the one on your right, your back, your forward, they are all now living with you. As to whether you love it or not, these are the people you find with you. So with the story of a real estate developer, I believe that, personally, I'm going to be biased here, I believe that there's that kind of sanity, because you decide a bit the people you want to have around you. Unlike you go to buy from the chiefs and the Alodia owners, you don't even know who is next to you. But I believe with a real estate developer, you can ask for the data, understand who is this, who is so and so. And most of the times they brief you and you can decide, okay, then I'm staying here. Elisha.
Well, I disagree with you.
You disagree with me? Please talk to me.
Because the same way you can actually choose, or you don't get to choose, you are buying a land. You bought a land from a real estate, okay? And you are plot number 252. Okay? All you know is your plot number 252. They take you to plot number 252. If you ask for who owns plot number 250 and 53, they will not hesitate to tell you.
Yeah.
Besides, and I really, really want to stress on that, the same way you get to do that when you are buying a home, okay? If you buy a house, and you see, we are making it look like the horizontal real estate is what, because in Ghana, we don't build vertically. We are always building horizontally. Maximum is 3 floors, 4 floors, and we are done. When we are supposed to go 10 floors, if you are on the 11th floor or the 9th floor, if we were building like that, how are you going to ask somebody who is your?
No, but maybe you're not catching my question very well. So what I mean to say is that when you're dealing with real estate developers, most often, as professional as they are, you can inquire of, the details of the one next to you, like I said, and they will brief you. I've had that experience where I move in to acquire properties for clients, and I go to these agents, I go to the real estate developer, please, I want to know more about this. There are some confidential ones they wouldn't tell you, but I mean, the briefing, they will let you know. Then you can get to tell. Sometimes they will tell you, okay, with here, we have a recreational center here, here is a market, here is an event center, then you run away. But doing so with just the chiefs, the Alodia owners, you don't even know if the Ahenkwa has sold it to somebody, or probably the chief has also sold it to another person. So let me land. So you really can't tell who your neighbor is. And you see, you don't have much control who your neighbor would be, provided the person is able to pay, that's it. But that of the real estate developer, even with the kind of building you have to build within that said zone, I mean, you are restricted. They will tell you, look, here we've decided that you are not going beyond 2-story, 3-story. We do not want any commercial property here. So there's that kind of, serenity and that organization.
Aside being a civil engineer, okay, I can tell you that the job of the architect is so stressful. Yes, because whether the real estate company or the chiefs are involved, it is the job of the architect to plan the land, to show which places to be for recreationals, which places to be for schools, hospitals, and where do you have to have one floors, where do you need to have, all this is already planned. They call that topo. Now, if you go to the chief, if the chief is selling the land, there's an office, they normally would raise very huge walls, and then you enter a gate, and then you see a small office. After all that, the emphasis.
No, Elisha,
I'm coming.
I don't know.
You see a small office, and when you go there, there is this big side plan behind them. Then you get to see all those things. All this is there. The same way with the real estate agents. All I'm saying is that if you ask for this information, these are public informations you can easily ask for. And if you are buying a land, you must do due diligence before you make payment.
So we will touch on due diligence. Let me just come to Kwejo, what we've been
just
talking.
to chip into to that, Elisha, what is being said here, there are different aspects to it.
Yeah.
Even from the local authorities, okay, they zone the lands. So they can say this should be farmland and this should be building land. However, when you're buying the land, if, and I'm not bashing churches here, but if a church is coming opposite you, when you're buying from the chief, you would not know. They have the land. If someone comes to buy 10 plots opposite your plot, you end up with that in front of you in a residentially zoned area, okay? And unfortunately, when you go to get your planning permit, or when they go to get their planning permit, they will still be issued with a planning permit. So the whole land buying system is not just a standalone system. You need to look at the authorities as well, who are zoning the areas, allowing commercial, allowing industrial zones, and so on. So that's the starting point. The real estate developer gets the land. But in his community, you know that the good thing is that you will get a community coming up together. So you're not going to have a plot, just a plot, sitting ahead of you or beside you for 10 years. Okay? And those are some of the benefits you get when you buy from a real estate developer. If you go to the chiefs and you buy the land, the person who's opposite you could be someone who unfortunately dies and a relative comes to stay on there because, well, it's land that's for them. It will never be developed. And it might turn out being a commercial place where the mechanics come to fix their cars.
That's a typical story.
You understand?
That's a typical story.
So it is always better to go for the structured environment. It is always better to go for this, where the professionals will actually do the building for you. These are people doing this for a living, and they are in touch with the industry. Very important. They are in touch with the new trends and what is coming in the future, and so on. And so it is always best to, and if you buy from a grader member, you also get the assurance of an umbrella body looking after your interests. So it's a no-brainer.
Okay, so it's getting hotter and heated in here. I mean, a lot of brilliant submission here. Myself, I'm really enjoying myself. A lot of, education. The phone lines are activated at this moment. They are on your screens. You can call in and also be part of the discussion ongoing here in the studio. So coming back to, I spoke about that is having an organized, community. And again, it means we have to also talk about the laid roads that are constructed, the drainage system, which I would say most real estate developers don't do, but with the roads, I can, applaud them for that. And also with social amenities like electricity and water being provided within such an organized society. Unlike what Elisha wants us to believe with the individuals who go to buy plots and you don't find these things. What do you say?
Well, you see, I also have to say in his defense that, yes, you might get roads, but how long will they last? You might get drains. How will they take the water away? And so these are things which the local authorities are supposed to have been doing, but do not do because of lack of direction or money or whatever it is. So it is not, I wouldn't sit here and say if you go to a developer, you get everything, So I don't know.
Okay, so let's go on to the phone. Our first caller, Dennis from Odumasi. Dennis.
Bennett from Odumasi.
Yes. Please go on with your submission.
Good afternoon. Good job done.
Thank you.
But my only submission is that I can see you are talking to Kojo more than Benny. With the real estate, in fact, our 70%, those who deal with land issues, 70% of them are liars. Yes, I would say so because they will tell you we are sitting here, Chopoli, Adan, Dodowa, here and here. They will not go and do due diligence to the place that they wanted to sell the land.
Okay, so Dennis, sorry about that. I think the line is just getting broken. You can still call us on the number on your screen, and we will be glad to add you to the conversation. So, Benny, I don't want trouble. I'm told I'm not engaging you the more.
Because I want to understand that when I speak, I'm speaking for them.
Yes, I do agree.
Out of research, I can tell you how the Ghanaian mindset is when it comes to construction.
So
the confidence.
Let me go on to the phone lines. I'll come back to you. I hope it's not accepted as me not giving you time to talk. So Farouk, hello Farouk.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Farouk.
Yes, I have two questions.
Okay.
Why is that almost all the real estate developers they quote in dollars?
Okay.
That's number one. And number two, you are also restricted that you can't do any other development on the land. Why? Once I've acquired the land, why can't I do any other development?
Okay, thank you so much, Farouk. Thank you so much. Elisha, you're on the floor. You want to answer?
Yes, so Farouk, I have a problem with why they quote in dollars. But then I think that why they quote in dollars also has to do with securing the city equivalent. So normally what you're supposed to have done is that when the building is quoted in dollars, eventually it's not even financially secure for Ghana or the country itself. Because if the country is quoting in, let's say in Ghana we spend cities. So if a real estate agent or company is building a house, you build a house and say it's 50,000 cities dollar equivalent, or it's 50,000, it's $5,000 city equivalent. It makes sense. But the reason why they probably quote in dollars, and this is the reason why, the only reason why, to secure the build cost. To secure the build cost. Because when he's spending, he spend the monies, and last year he built the house, it was $50,000 The next year is still $50,000. But then if you are coming to buy in city, the city has depreciated or has appreciated. So if you're bringing the city equivalent, it becomes safe for them. Okay, and then...
Okay, I would want you to hold on. Dan from Spain Test. Hello, Dan.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your program.
Thank you, too.
And I'm second Kojo. You see, sometimes when you buy property, like you're saying, you had a property as around Kampoma, around Kampoma, Lashibi. That area, opposite us. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Danny,
good afternoon.
please go on.
Opposite us is a church. Behind us is a church. So you can't do anything about it. But buying it from real estate, you are instructed a type of building one, which is right, construction of the road also, and then the year duration to construct the building, which is the best. But I think it's education for Ghanaians. We are used to traditional building on our own. But I think the best thing to buy from estate developer is the best. You have your peace, development period, a type of people living around you is also secure, and a type of security in that community. You can't just invite a visitor to come anyhow, pass through security checkpoint before get to you. By the normal traditional environment, anybody comes in, you can have an armed robber behind you, church in front of you, mechanic like he's saying, and the opposite will be a factory, pure water factory or market, and you can't do anything about it. So to me, I think we need to educate the community of Ghana community to follow real estate, buying from community or real estate developers. I think this is a good idea. We need to educate the public about that. Otherwise, we'll grow up and robbers around our neighborhood. We can't do anything about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Danny. So you still can call into the show. The number is 030-2211-691. Call in and be part of the show. Benny.
Let me finish, Farouk.
Yes,
And,
I would want you to be down with
restriction of
that.
development. I have a problem because I let a client to buy. They have certain lands that you can actually build. Okay, they give you specifications what to build. Sometimes even there's a design that you have to use to build. Now, if you are bringing your own design, they vet you and so on and so forth. Sometimes, like in my case, after I had designed for the client, they said that the design that I had done was above the standard that they're requiring for that place. So then I had to downgrade the design. And I said, I cannot do that. So if I say I cannot do that, it means I have to walk away from the client. Because the restrictions to why you cannot do this and you cannot do that, when you have your own land, you are not restricted.
Okay, so we have David from Kaswa. David.
Yeah, David. Okay, thank you very much. Hello?
Go on, David.
Yeah, I think what the two gentlemen are saying, buying the land in this country, we have the two lands, we have family land and government land. So if you are buying a land to build, it becomes cheaper. I have built on my own. And the disadvantage of what they were saying with respect to church is cuttings everywhere. But buying it and buying the land and building your own with the experts on it, as they were saying, is correct. You get your building cheaper than the estate developers.
So, David, let me ask you this question. There are two options. Which do you prefer? To buy, a built property or to build yourself?
I like to buy the land and then build.
You want to buy the land and then build?
And then build is cheaper. If you are buying straight from the kids, and they also have service land. We have service land already too. The kids have all those things in plan. By law in this country, the kids should not sell land to you, and the church will be here, Peter will be here. They also have the same, the kids. Like Emmanuel I'm saying, when they were giving the land out, they have demarcated where there are two. There were the churches.
David, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have to pick other callers. We don't have much time. I'm sorry about that, but thank you so much for your call.
Emmanuel, I would like to just say something about, you see, they have the planning issue, okay? The local authorities, they need to up their game a bit.
I can promise you we will surely have a discussion on, the planning and the zoning of, our settlement. So definitely we are going to look at that. But for today, with the many troubles most people have, I think people are mentioning mechanics, meaning they just don't like how things are arranged.
It's the way to secure a land.
Well, the planned environment.
Yes, that's
planned
what
environment. You are talking about securing your land. So the developer in this case has secured the land and has a planned environment, and he's building single-story buildings. And then you come in with a 4-story building because you want to show that you have arrived.
I mean,
which is fine. However, when you arrive, you don't just arrive. You arrive into a community, okay? And there are standards which have to be maintained. And so that is what you'll encounter. Okay. But you should be thankful that someone is enforcing what he said he will do when he started off.
Okay, so I have change from Pro B change.
Yeah, hello. Hello?
Yes.
Yes. So my concern right now is the fact that, you know, how many people can afford $100,000 house in Ghana? So that means already from the onset, the category of people they are looking, they are targeting. Right? Yes, and the earlier, one of the colleagues also was talking about armed robbers and all that. The reality in Ghana is that most of those who buy those kind of houses are also people who are corrupt. They engage in some form of corruption to be able to afford $100,000 house in Ghana. So for the real estate, I think they should also find a way of making these houses affordable. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the answer from that's Kojo is that it's not always $100,000 fee. There are other lands from greater members that are selling less than $100,000. So probably you have to do your digging very, very well. But let me also mention to our viewers that for the lack of time, very soon we shall be wrapping up. But we promise to do a continuation on this subject because we believe that we need to have, detailed understanding, be more informed in pursuit of this agenda when we want to make such a decision in the near future. I wanted to wrap up, but I'm told to pick Kukwa, our last caller. We are sorry if after Kukwa we are not able to pick it. Kukwa.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kukwa.
Thank you. I just want to say something a little about what the first caller said. The first caller said we sometimes you have issues with this real estate people in buying them. I quite remember Joy FM organized this fair for this bill housing and building something. But we ended up going to a real estate agent who took our money with the promise of building whilst we pay, and this thing never materialized. All efforts to get them even pay our initial money didn't work. So that one too, there's a bit of a problem there. I think what our advice is that those that Joy FM accept in organizing those things, there must be due diligence so that we don't encounter such things again.
Okay, thank you for your submission. We shall be looking into that. I would want you to call after the program and we shall surely attend to this. We believe in integrity and it's far from us. So we will follow it up. Just call after the program and we shall attend to this. So your final prayers before we wrap up.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yes.
Build or buy. I would always say you are safer buying. It's just like you going to the trotro station and saying, I'm going on a trip on this trotro. I want to drive myself. You are not a builder.
Okay.
Okay? You are not a builder. If you want to build, or if you want to build yourself, go to the professionals. Okay. Let's sanitize this environment.
Okay.
Go to the professionals and you will not regret it.
Thank you so much. Elisha, your final words. It should be brief.
Yeah, it should be brief. Just like he said, I mean, if the phones that we use, we don't manufacture them here, we buy them. So ideally, it would be good if we would have gotten the chance to buy our houses, but currently we are not there yet. So until we get there yet, I think that most Ghanaians will be more comfortable building themselves.
Okay, I must say our highest appreciation to these wonderful guests in the studio, Benny Elisha Kobna and Kwejo Bani. They have been fantastic. Another appreciation going out to my production team here in Joy Studios, and Mesha Keduokai all the way in Arlington, Texas, Alex Koka, Audrey Dushi, Rackman, Ohine all the way in Kumasi, and you also for being part of the show. We come your way same time next week here on Joy News.